today I'm gonna play with the world's lightest hairdryer. This is the Gamma Professional IQ, and it comes in under 1 pound. It weighs 294 grams or 10.37 ounces. Also a really ridiculous fast motor, the same as the Dyson, 110,000 RPMs. But what makes this unique is how tiny the hairdryer is, how lightweight it is, and how powerful it is. And I'm really curious to see how it is going to compare to the Dyson Supersonic hairdryer. So let's put the two together against each other and see who will prevail. So this is what it looks like. This right here is where the air is going to come out of. This is the motor. And they said they have some kind of technology back here to make sure particles don't ruin the motor. Like honestly, it doesn't feel better than the Dyson because this retails for $357 on the Gamma website. This is $399. I think the one thing you can feel a difference holding it at the very bottom, but once you kind of get to the top, they feel somewhat similar. The Dyson is, what was it, like 1.8 pounds? And this is under 1 pound, so you can definitely feel a little bit of a difference. Let me put in one of these attachments. And the one thing is, the way they go inside, it feels like you wanna put it in all the way because you can still see right there, but that's just as far as they go into the hairdryer, which is kind of unfortunate. I wish it was magnetic like the Dyson. Okay, let's turn this on. You have on off right here. I don't know how to work this. Let me read the directions because it's not working for me. Okay, I figured out why it wasn't letting me do the options. There's a lock button. So you turn on first, you choose your settings, what airflow, how high you want it, how low you want it, and then you can lock it. So you do on first, and then you go up, then you can lock it. And now I can't change anything. Wow, that's loud. Whew, that's loud. I'm excited to play with this. I'm just applying some IGK. This is their Good Behavior 4-in-1 prep spray. Then I'm using my Tangle Teaser detangler. Okay, so I'm going to dry each side of my head with each hair dryer. I think I'm gonna do the left side with the Gamma and then the right side with the Dyson. And we're gonna keep the same settings on both since they're both equal settings. Dyson also has the 3 settings: low, medium, or high for the airflow, and then low, medium, or high for the heat. Same with the Gamma, so I feel like this is a really great comparison to see which one does a faster and better job. When I use these kind of hair dryers, I don't really give myself a professional hair blowout at home using like a round brush. I typically just do kind of like a rough dry in my hair and then go in and style my hair afterwards. So that's what I'm gonna do, give myself a really rough dry and see which one is the fastest, and Andre's going to time me. It's gonna take up the Dyson side because we're gonna go first in with the Gamma. And I'm gonna do this one right here just because this is somewhat similar to the Dyson. Just brushing through to make sure it feels pretty dry. I think I feel a little bit back here. All right, we're good. 4 minutes.
Slightly above.
That's pretty good. So it'd be like 8 minutes total then. Can you come feel it? Because my hands are kind of warm. Feels pretty good, but I feel like it still feels a tiny bit damp.
No, it's pretty dry. I don't. So we got 414 on that side. So we'll see how long it takes.
So 414.
Yeah, all the way together, plus or minus to that.
Right, of course. Let's go with the Dyson. Same thing. High on everything. I feel like it's not as loud, but it feels very powerful. All right.
So it's 2 minutes 39 seconds. That was much faster.
So let's first talk about how heavy they are, because that's like the very first thing you feel comparing them one to one. Obviously this one is a lot lighter, but I feel like because it's a little bit longer than the Dyson, you can see how much longer it really is. So I felt like I had to kind of pick up my hand a little bit higher to make it a little more comfortable. I don't know, it was a little bit awkward to hold on myself.
Did you torque your hand a little more?
Well, yeah, because I had to really...
No, I mean like when you press it, does it pull your hand
No,
more?
it doesn't.
No?
It doesn't. But I felt like I had to kind of overcompensate with my shoulder. So therefore, even though yes, it's lighter, I felt like I was doing the same amount, maybe even a little bit more by raising my shoulder a tiny bit more to compensate for how long it really is. But I felt like it was pretty comfortable to hold in terms of like all the buttons around me. Because it does have the lock option, I wasn't thinking in the back of my mind that, oh, I'm gonna press and I'm gonna change the settings, which I think is phenomenal. Same thing with this. The only thing you can possibly press is the cool shot or the on off button, but I've never experienced that since owning this hairdryer because the options are all right here in the back where you're not even holding it. So I think both, they're thinking of the end user. How are they gonna, you know, touch the buttons when they're drying somebody's or their own hair. Next thing, how loud, because that's the next thing you turn on. This bad boy is actually louder than the Dyson, and you can hear it right away and looking in the camera. What was it, like almost twice as loud?
It's almost twice as loud, yeah.
Almost twice as loud as the Dyson. So this little bad boy is packing a powerful punch. Next thing is with the heat, I've noticed that when I was turning this on, the cold air was kind of coming through first for a little, I would say maybe two seconds, and then the hot air would come through, and then it would take a little bit to like turn on. So I felt like I really had to keep this hairdryer on for a longer period of time to really feel the heat coming through. Versus the Dyson, you can kind of feel it like instant, the heat coming through. And
were they both just as hot though, once heated?
I feel like this was a tad hotter, just a tad, because you could feel it right away. So you can definitely take it down a notch. The next thing, I felt like the air coming out of this wasn't as strong and intense as the Dyson. They're somewhat similar. They actually look very similar with the nozzles. Maybe the Dyson's a little bit wider, but the Dyson was very concentrated and it honestly just kind of splits the hair and it just really blows hard, versus this one kind of just diffuses it a little bit more and it's not as intense with the airflow, even though they're both on the same settings and they have 110,000 RPMs. But I think because the motor is so much smaller, I mean, it's tiny motor.
Bigger motor in a Dyson.
Right, and I'll show you, this is where the air is coming out of and this is Dyson's. Completely different. Dyson has a lot more real estate versus this is very compact and tiny. Last but not least, the timing, how long it took to dry the hair. So the Gamma took roughly 4 minutes on one side and Dyson took a little, what is it, 2:30? 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So I would think this is maybe, what would you say, like a third faster, the Dyson versus the Gamma. But considering how tiny this really is, I wasn't expecting this to blow Dyson out of the water just because the Dyson is so powerful and it's like a legit supersonic hairdryer, versus this, it also sounds supersonic, just the way the high pitch.
Yeah, it's supersonic at that speed.
Yeah, but
it's not as big of a motor.
So I think this is really great for people out there that want something like this to really rough dry and then go in and style it using a round brush or a paddle brush. And because it's so tiny and it's so lightweight, and I do like that this part right here, the motor and the fan is a little bit longer, therefore when you're holding it, it's not really tipping over and you're like doing like the tippy toppy, you know what I mean? The seesaw, that's what I'm talking about. The seesaw, you're not going one way more towards the other. But it feels really comfortable. I really like that it has all the options. Very similar to the Dyson, it has a cool shot right here. Dyson also has the cool shot, and both have that setting of 3 levels. You have the low, medium, and high for both heat and airflow. But the Dyson does win in terms of how fast it dries the hair, the airflow, and I would say even the heat. It's a little bit stronger and hotter. But given this, it's light. That's the whole thing, that's what's going for it. It's very light and you do feel quite a bit of a difference, especially when you're holding it like this. But like I said, I kind of had to overcompensate on myself when blow drying on this side of my head because it is a little bit longer towards the front. Okay, so given the price of, it's roughly $350, plus it's like $357 I believe on their website. All the little finishes, they feel a little bit cheap to me because looking at some of this, like it's just, this looks like vacuum attachments versus this. It's very elegant, it's very seamless, even the way it feels in your hands. So I'm kind of disappointed in regards to that. And also when you're trying to put this in, I feel like I really want to put it in because I'll show you guys, there's still a huge separation from the attachment to the hairdryer and it doesn't go in further and all of them do the same thing. So it looks like an oversight and yeah, it's just, it doesn't feel luxurious. I don't know if that makes sense. And even just the way it comes off right here, it doesn't feel all that nice. But yeah, I'm just, I guess, nitpicking from all of this. Like versus the Dyson, it has everything magnetic, even down to the filter. And I really like how easy it is to clean the Dyson. And I feel like you can see a huge difference from the Dyson versus the Gamma for the filters. The Dyson is way more micro versus Gamma, the holes are a lot bigger. Just, you know, just those little things, I guess, what I'm nitpicking because they are very similar in price and I want to make sure that whoever is getting this, they're kind of understanding what they're getting. But yeah, I think why someone would purchase this is because how tiny it is. It's taking up very minimal real estate. It's very lightweight, so comfortable to hold and especially do a lot of people's hair throughout the day. And yeah, I'm kind of impressed to how lightweight it is. But other than that, I wish it felt a little more substantial, a little more luxurious. For all of you professional hairstylists out there, if you've used both, which one do you prefer and why? Or if you haven't used either, what type of hairdryer do you prefer? Do you prefer like a workhorse that just has crazy amount of RPMs, kind of bulky, but it gets the job done? Or do you want something that has all the options for you, like the heat setting, the airflow setting, the cool shot, and then it has all the different attachments, but it's a lot lighter and it's very powerful. That's what I'm trying to understand. Like if you're a hairstylist and you do X amount of heads per day, let's say you're doing like 4 to 5, hairstyles, cutting the hair, blow drying the hair, all that good stuff. It definitely takes a lot. So the one thing I was reading about each hair dryer, I've had this hair dryer, how many years have I had this? 4 years? I think it's been at least 4 years we've had this hair dryer and we haven't had one issue with it. The only thing is you just got to clean the filter once in a while, maybe every so often. And we haven't had any issues with this hair dryer. I've known several hairstylists that use this hair dryer and certain attachments would just not fit properly, would break off, and then some of the settings would just not work. And then the same thing with this, I was reading that a lot of hairstylists were saying that they had X amount of clients per day or that month, and the first month it was beautiful, everything was working, and then for some reason the next month the issues started happening. For example, the different heat settings would not work, only one would be good or just would not turn on whatsoever. So that's what I'm wondering, if how much can these hairstyles be used, you know, and overused? Because it is such a small little motor, but it's so powerful. When will it go out? Personally, if I had to go out and spend money again, I would choose Dyson just because it blows dries the hair much faster. I feel like it's a little bit more comfortable to use even though it is heavy, but essentially they're very similar in price. So yeah, I'm gonna, again, go for the Dyson. I feel like it did a better job. Again, you guys, thank you for watching, spending time with me, and I'll see the next one very soon. Bye.